Hey everyone, Mike Miller with the Herald Times. Jeremy Price, the columnist, we're back. 7-day layoff, no basketball for a few days. A lot of final exams, none for us.
None for us.
None for us, thank God. I always have that nightmare though that I'm forgetting a test or forgetting an assignment. I still have that nightmare. I hope that goes away soon.
You'll get over it. Trust me.
I hope so. There was almost a nightmare here today, speaking of nightmares. This one, boy oh boy. There was some boos, there were some cheers. It ended up with a lot more cheers today here at Bankers Life Fieldhouse, as you can tell through the many... we're in the interview room here, as you can tell, with the mics and the whatever you want to call that. Back there after an 80-73 Indiana win over Notre Dame here in the Crossroads Classic. Hugely important win for Indiana, which had not yet secured really the kind of statement, non-conference quality win that they needed on their NCAA tournament resume. Been through all those opportunities that have kind of slipped through the cracks, kind of rehashed that a million different ways, different times. This one, coming into this, you knew this was important for that reason, but I also think just from kind of what they learned, some of the self-actualization that happened throughout this game, beyond sort of the NCAA tournament implications, I just think that what they learned in this game about themselves, I think, is maybe the biggest takeaway of all.
Yeah, I think the crazy thing is we came into this game, I always hesitate a little bit to put a must-win on a December game, but it was maybe as close to a must-win as Indiana was going to have going into the Big Ten season.
For so many reasons.
And somehow they managed to make it even bigger than that because of the way this game played out. Mm-hmm. The way that the defense just, once again, was, pick your adjective, horrible, horrific,
wretched.
Awful, non-existent.
Non-existent's a good one.
Just wasn't, the effort was not there at all in the first half, and to start the second half when Notre Dame pulled out the 16-point lead. Frankly, I thought Indiana was lucky to only be down 10 at half. Truth be told, Notre Dame missed some layups, missed some wide open looks.
Turnovers.
Some really dumb turnovers that helped out. But somehow, as big as this game was, Indiana made it bigger, and then actually to finish off the comeback and win this game the way they did, it's definitely one of those games that has the potential to be a springboard win going forward for the rest of the season. Maybe it's only temporary. We'll find out. But right now, it looks just absolutely monstrous.
Yeah, definitely. It's very encouraging, like you said, just the way they were really able for the first time against a true Power 5 opponent, whatever you want to call Notre Dame, really able to feed that offense through the defense. They broke out their... a zone look for a sustained amount of time, really the last, a good chunk of that second half, they were really in that zone, a 2-3 zone that really kind of just swallowed up Notre Dame whole. I will say that zone and the success of that zone was kind of coupled with Notre Dame almost losing their legs a little bit. I thought that the Irish really wore down late in that second half, but maybe that's to some degree a credit to Indiana.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame definitely put it in neutral a little bit there, and they quit attacking the basket. They quit attacking the Indiana defenders. There were a lot of guys in foul trouble. What Thomas Bryant wind up with foul-wise? 2. He had 2 in the first 3 minutes and did not commit another foul.
Wow.
Which is amazing. And
I didn't recognize that.
Part of that, it was hiding him in that zone, but also the fact, and we should say that part of that was that Thomas Bryant served as the matador late in the first half, probably partly responsible for a lot of the booing that went on with the Indiana defense at that point, because he was no way going to pick up that third foul. But then again, the fact that he never picked up that third sort of speaks to the lack of aggression by Notre Dame down the stretch of this game. Yeah,
it was funny. We were actually sitting basically on the end of the bench with Tim Garl. I think our boss is trying to reach us right now. Just make sure he's not. No, it's not. Anyway, we were sitting on the end of the bench with basically right next to Tim Garl and a few other those folks on the end of the IU bench. It's funny kind of listening to them talking throughout the game. Bryant sat for a prolonged stretch there in the first half, and right before he went in, Chuck Martin pulled him aside and said, "Do not use your hands. Don't use your hands." He made it pretty clear. I'll tell you another thing that was funny, and this is kind of in a different direction. Tom Crean was letting Steve Astoria hear it all day. I think countless times, at least 5 or 6 times, I think, Crean was yelling out, whether it was an inbound pass or whether Astoria was just near the bench, "You're a non-athlete! He's a non-athlete! Don't let a non-athlete beat you!" Stuff like that. It was strange, but it was interesting just to kind of hear the chatter on the bench and just kind of the way that things kind of built from there. I mean, this is a team that went into the locker room really, again, after the worst half of their season, down 10 points. They're only down 9 at Duke. Down 10 here, and probably, I mean, just the optics of everything, the stats, everything. The shooting was terrible. It was 35%. And really some of that went, Indiana can look a lot worse than it really is sometimes when that offensive game isn't churning along. Yeah. And that certainly was the case here today. It wasn't so much the turnovers, rather it seemed to be a more, frankly, selfish approach to offense and basketball in general. It wasn't a whole lot of cohesiveness with that team. And I think when Indiana kind of feeds poison to that offense, it just makes everything look awry and rotten.
Yeah,
and that's what we saw.
And I think that was the thing. It was very lifeless. There wasn't a lot of passion. There wasn't a lot of intensity. I don't know if it was one of those cases where having a week off and you're so ready to play a game that you just come out completely flat, or what happened. But Indiana just did not look ready to play this game, did not look into this game. And when they went down big, I mean, it just sort of looked like they were ready to throw in the towel almost at several points there, to be honest with you. And to go back to the point you made, talking to, using Vistoria as a non-athlete, sort of like that's some sort of motivation for the Indiana defense. I mean, that's the thing, is it shouldn't take that or anything else to provide the motivation for this Indiana team. This Indiana team's got to find that motivation within itself, to find that pride, and I thought that's what they finally did down the last 10, 15 minutes of this game. Was there was finally a sense of pride that they weren't going to get embarrassed like this, that they weren't going to get themselves booed off the court in Indianapolis and shown up by Notre Dame and just all those things, and that it took to that point, to being down 16 points, to being booed and all those things, to sort of dig that up. That's concerning on one hand, but I guess the good news is they did find it and were able to pay it off a little bit. And so if they can carry that attitude and that mentality forward this season, that's something they can work with. And finally, it comes not against Morehead State, not against McNeese State, not against Alcorn State, but it comes against Notre Dame, which Notre Dame is not a great team, don't get me wrong. I think it's a good team. I don't think it's a great team. But it's the kind of team that Indiana is going to see more often than not when we get into Big Ten play.
Certainly next month.
So the fact that they could muster that up and dig deep and find that within them in some way in this game at least gives some measure of hope for the season that lies ahead.
Absolutely, and especially going into this next stretch, beyond the Kennesaw State game on Tuesday, when you get to Rutgers on the 30th. From there, I mean, you're looking at a very, very winnable stretch of games, really the entire month of January. Really, I'm not sure this team sees another top 25 team in the polls, RPI, whatever, until the second week of February when it sees Iowa and Michigan State back-to-back. So this really, not only to get this win, get sort of the non-conference angle of this win, not only to kind of show themselves that there are tangible benefits from playing defense and playing more cohesive basketball. This could just be, like you said, a momentum starter going into this really, really important month for IU, because February is really tough. The back end of the schedule is really tough, and when you look at the track record for Tom Crean teams at Indiana the last 3 or 4 years, it doesn't end well very often.
Right.
Really outside that 2011-2012 team, this team has kind of really hit the skids second half of February. So to really take advantage of this upcoming month of January, to head in there with some momentum, we kind of kicked it around even against those teams like IPFW, Morehead, just to kind of get back, rebound from Duke, kind of freshen up, refresh, kind of hit with maybe those wins just built some sort of confidence, and maybe that confidence can just kind of compound on top of each other and build something more sustainable moving forward. And I think maybe that's what this effort here today can do.
And I think we would be remiss if we didn't point out that this wasn't a case where Yogi Ferrell gets hot and goes crazy and lifts Indiana, or James Blackman or whatever. This was a case where actually give a lot of credit to the Indiana bench, which I think outscored Notre Dame 14-0 in the second half, if I remember correctly. And you had guys like OG Anunoby came in, gave a big lift. Max Bielfeldt had moments of stretches and not long sustained periods as much tonight as in the past. But the lineup that sort of got this team going was a bit unconventional. I think Zeisloft was in. Hartman was in.
Big 3 for Zeisloft, too. It knocked it to a 5-point game at one point.
Yeah, I think you had Zeisloft, Hartman, Bielfeldt, maybe Anunoby with Robert Johnson or something like that. I mean, those were the guys that were they were on and off the floor a little bit there, but those guys all played key roles in getting this team going. And maybe it's a little bit enlightening from that standpoint, that it's not about the personal stats, the personal numbers, the draft prospects, all those things. It's about putting this team together as a team and coming together and sort of unifying towards that one goal. And whatever players are involved in that process, great as long as it gets done. And that's where this team's got to be at if they're going to have success this year.
I just realized we both just rolled through 2 stories, essentially 10 minutes of scoop talk, and not one of us really hammered on the Robert Johnson at the Crossroads, because that's, first of all, a fantastic pun, maybe a little overused. I'm not sure if we touched on it last year. But second of all, Robert Johnson was awesome today. He really, while Indiana was really struggling early on, he really came out, wanted it, played outstanding early, and that really kind of kept things, as you said earlier, from getting out of hand. And, at least statistically, with that 41-31 halftime score looking worse than as bad as it was, really. But, yeah, shame on us.
I think you got it. I think I
just got it.
You got it done.
I got it. Robert Johnson was outstanding at the Crossroads, and that's embarrassing. I'm getting choked by my credentials. Like, I didn't even notice how small this is, like made for a 6-year-old. Take it off right now. All right, guys. Jeremy, let's go home.
We'll see you with Kansas State.
See ya.
Yep.